There was once a dark castle that stood on the edge of a black and bottomless lake. People said that once the castle had been full of light and laughter, but now it stood empty because no one dared live in it, for they said that something horrible lay in the dark lake. One day, however, a wicked witch came to the dark castle and gazed down into the dark, deep waters of the bottomless lake. She picked up a toad that was sitting on the bank and put a spell on it. "Now then, Toad," she said, "I want you to swim down to the bottom of the lake and bring me what you find there." So the toad disappeared under the water and was gone for a whole day. At length, however, its head bobbed up to the surface again, and it said, "Witch, I swam down, and I swam down, deeper and deeper, where there is no sound and there is no light. But I could not find any bottom to the lake." "There must be a bottom, Toad," cried the witch. "Try again." This time the toad disappeared into the dark, deep waters and was gone for 2 whole days. When it came up to the surface again, it said, "Witch, I swam down, and I swam down, deeper and deeper, where there is no sound and no light, and at last I did indeed reach the bottom, but I could not see anything, and I could not stay there, for it is as black and cold as the grave." The witch cried, "You lazy toad, here is a lantern. Go down and look again." So the toad took the lantern and disappeared into the dismal water once more. This time it was gone for 3 whole days, and twilight fell on the 4th, and still the old witch sat waiting by the black lake. At last the toad reappeared, and it said, "Witch, I swam down, and I swam down, deeper and deeper, where there is no sound and there is no light, and at last I reached the bottom, where it is as black and cold as the grave, and no bird has ever sung. I searched that foul floor by the dim light of this lantern, and at last I found this." And it opened its hand, and there lay a small snuff box. "Give it to me at once," cried the witch. But the toad held on to it and said, "What is my reward?" "Give me the snuff box," replied the witch, "and I will turn you into a prince." "Very well," said the toad, and it gave the witch the snuff box. The moment it did so, the witch burst into a cackle of evil laughter. "Ha ha ha! Impertinent creature!" she cried. "You think I turn you into a prince, do you? Very well, I will." And with that she waved her hand, and the toad did indeed turn into a prince, but into the ugliest, hunchbacked prince you ever could imagine, with one leg shorter than the other, and warts on his face. "Aha!" cried the witch. "Enjoy your reward!" And she vanished into the dark castle, clutching the snuff box. Now the wicked witch knew that in the snuff box many, many years ago a demon had been imprisoned who had once brought terror on all the people of the land. So she held it tight and whispered, "Demon in the box, are you there?" And a tiny voice said, "Oh yes, please open the box, for I have been in here so long." But the witch held on to it all the tighter and said, "If I release you, you must promise to be my slave and do as I command for 1 whole year and a day, so that I become rich and rule all this land. Then you will be free to go where you will." "Indeed I shall," cried the small voice. So the witch opened the snuff box, and immediately there was a terrifying roar, and a blast of scalding air threw the witch back against the wall, and smoke poured into the room, as out leapt the demon with a terrible cry, "At last!" "Don't forget you are my slave for 1 whole year and a day," cried the witch. "I am nobody's slave," cried the demon, and he touched the witch on the nape of the neck, and she turned into a millstone, and he cast her into the cold black lake. Meanwhile the Toad Prince had clambered in at the window of the dark castle, and he had seen all that had happened between the witch and the demon of the snuff-box, and he said to himself, "I fetched this demon up from the bottom of the bottomless lake. I must send him back there." So he jumped down into the great hall. "Who dares to enter my castle?" roared the demon. "Demon," said the Toad Prince, "are you going to rob the people of this land?" "Indeed I am," roared the demon. "Are you going to kill their dogs and steal their children?" asked the Toad Prince. "Indeed I am," cried the demon. "And will you make them poor and live in terror of you?" "Indeed I shall," bellowed the demon. "Then let me help you," said the Toad Prince, "for as you see I am ugly and unwanted, and I should like to do all the harm I can." "Very good," cried the demon. "But first," said the Toad Prince, "I must know how powerful you really are." "I can easily show you," said the demon, and he waved his hand, and a ball of fire appeared in mid-air. It circled round them once, and then flew out of the window. Said the Toad Prince. "Can't you do anything else?" "Come with me," said the demon, and he took the Toad Prince onto the roof of the castle. "Watch this," he said, and he spread his wings and flew up into the air so high that he tore a hole in the sky, and a strange light shone down upon the earth. Then the demon plucked up a pine tree, threaded a trailing vine through its roots, and sewed the sky up again. "Well," said the Toad Prince, "that's not bad, but I'd still not what I'd call really powerful." "And what would that be?" roared the demon, who was, perhaps justly, rather piqued. The Toad Prince bent down and picked up a speck of dust and said, "Now if a creature as big and powerful as you could get inside that grain of dust, that's what I'd call really powerful." "Child's play!" exclaimed the demon, and made himself smaller and smaller until he was no bigger than a speck of dust. Whereupon, before he could change back again, the prince picked him up and put him back in the snuff-box and fastened the lid tight. Then he threw the snuff-box back into the black lake. After that the Toad Prince lived in the castle and ruled the land about with kindness and justice, and although he was hunchbacked, the people of the land loved him, and laughter and light returned to the dark castle once again.